The following is paid programming.
It's time to talk taxes.
New friends, new opportunities, new partners. EG Tax.
It's Ask the Tax Lady with Esther Gulius and EG Tax on News Radio 930 WBEN. To reach Esther now, call 803-0930. Toll free at 1-800-616-9236. And cell calls are free at star 930. And now, live from the WBEN studios, it's Esther Gulius.
Hey, everybody, this is the Tax Lady, and this is our hour to talk taxes and money and things related to your taxes. If you have any questions, you can hop online, 803-0930, 803-0930, star 930 on a cell phone, because we want to help you. And I have my compadres in studio with me, Tiffany Fabian. Hey, Tiff.
Hey there, Esther. And next week we start our summer series, and we have Russ Gullo and Jeff Katz coming up, and
Russ Gullo's next week. Right?
Russ Gullo is next week. Yep. So very excited
about how to get out of their rental.
Yes, exchange.
Completely free. You want to tune in next week. Tell your friends, because Russ Gullo is a master at exchanging.
That's right.
So, and really, with the change in the tax law, that's one of the things that is the only thing you can use a 1031 now is for real estate.
Yep. That's for
right?
sure.
And that's Christopher Fabian. Hey, Chris.
Hello, Esther.
Hello, Christopher.
And, you know...
And I think, wait, did spring come?
No, it went right to summer.
I know, that's how it is. We have two seasons, really bad and really good.
Yes, yes. You know, but what I was going to say is, you know, we always talk about Russ with selling rental properties, but what about if you're a business owner and you have a building and you need a bigger building, or you want a smaller building?
Yep.
You know, you could exchange your business building, your warehouse, something like that. So it's not just for rentals; it's for a lot of different.
So let me
things.
just give you a real simple example. Let's say you paid $100,000 for your rental or your corporate building where you work, and you've had it now for 30 years. Every year you've written off the cost of that building. So basically now, at the end of 30 years, there is nothing left on a commercial building. It's to be 9 years, but basically it's like you paid $100, but now the basis in the building is almost zero. So if you sell it for $200, now you have a $200,000 gain. So even at 30%, when you consider New York State, you're going to have a $60,000 tax bill. Right?
Wow.
But if you use the exchange, and Russ Gullo is going to be here next week to talk about that, you're going to basically defer that sale until you finally sell the building. If you never sell it and you die, and that's my plan, then your heirs get a stepped-up basis, and that nobody pays taxes. So, like, hello.
Yeah.
That's part of what we do here at EG Tax.
You often say, defer, 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 die.
Yeah, because we're all going to die.
You know, and Russ will be one of our guest speakers at our super seminar coming up.
And for those of you that are our
October.
clients, you know that we send out a newsletter every spring, summer, and fall, and we just sent out our spring-summer newsletter. And if you would like that, you can go to our website at egtax.com and ask the tax lady and say you'd like us to send you the newsletter. All we need is your email address, and we'll send you the newsletter. And, of course, if you want to register for our fall seminar, you can do that at the same place.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We can even mail you out that newsletter if you would like. So
Right. And then I just want to thank everybody who has served, or if you were the mom or dad of somebody that served, or a spouse. We just want to say thank you. We love our country, and we love those people who have given so much for our country, and wanted to say thank you, that we remember you this Memorial Day.
Yep. Most definitely. Right? Most definitely.
Okay, so I want to talk about the IRS has finally kind of ruled on some of the schemes that the states, high tax states like New York, California, New Jersey are coming up with. And what did they say?
they said, No, never.
Right. So they said you got a scheme to have your
Property taxes.
your people that live in your state, your residents of your state, to pay less federal taxes. No, we're not going to allow it. You determine your liability and how what's deductible in the states. We determine on the federal level what's deductible on a federal level. So they are not going to go with the. They were talking about making real estate taxes a charitable contribution, and the federal government says, well, you can do that, but it's not going to be deductible on the federal. So that puts New York State back at the drawing board because they realize that the taxpayers in New York State are really going to get a haircut this next tax season because of the SALT deduction, state local tax limitation up to $10,000. So they're the state is trying to come up with a way to get you that deduction when the federal government says, no, we're not going to allow that.
Yeah, because more people might consider leaving the state and finding states that have lower property taxes and income taxes and things like that.
Right.
So,
well, I mean, Florida has 0, Texas has 0.
Yeah.
Tennessee
has only taxes on your investments.
New Hampshire.
And then also, the rise of New York State letters. I can't begin to tell you at the office how many New York State letters we're getting. And yesterday I was with a client. I wish Maria was here. But a report card, that's it. So they had to prove that the child lived with them. New York State wanted them to. And so I called New York.
Right?
Yep, the kid. And so I called New York State with the client, and they said, no, a report card isn't good enough now for proving addresses. And I had to step out and help another client. So Maria ended up talking to the New York State person, and I still need to get more research. I mean, it's just becoming laughable. I'm just, I have no words, no good words.
Well, it's really not laughable. It's cryable.
Yeah.
I mean, that you live in a state that really wants to punish the people that are living there, and they say, we're going to hold up your refund until we put you through all these gymnastics. And many people never respond to the letters that the state puts out. So therefore, the state just keeps the money. Which is basically stealing the taxpayers' refund. And that's why we say, on New York State, change your W-4 so you don't give them the money up front, so that you don't have a refund on the back end, so that they can't play this game with you.
Right. Well said. Absolutely. And also, if you get a letter, don't ignore it, and we'll help you with it. Please don't ignore it.
I don't care if you don't use EG Tax. If you get a letter, we have a letter lady. Tammy, our letter lady, and you just send it in, and she's so well versed at what the state wants, she can knock those things off right away. So don't sit around with the letter and say, oh my God, what to do with it. Give EG Tax a call. Our phone number at the office is 632-7886, and our phone number here in studio is 803-0930, 803-0930, star 930 on your cell phone, and we want to talk about debts that affect your taxes. So, and believe me, there is some debt that we can help you to handle. And those of you who have found that your spouse owes money, either student loans, child support,
IRS.
Or the IRS or state of New York debts, there is a way around it. And after the break, we're going to take our short break. 803-0930, 803-0930, star 930 on your cell phone. We'll be back with your questions on the other side. Hey, this is Esther Gulius, the tax lady from EG Tax. And we're talking taxes and letters and tax changes and all that kind of stuff. But today we're talking about how your debts that you have can affect your taxes. And I thought we'd start off with student loan debt. And for those of you that have kids with student loan debts, or you got student loan debts, there is some ways out and some things to help. Right, Tiff?
Yep, absolutely. So, I got to say, under the Obama administration, they started doing it where you could do income-based payments. So if you are just over your head with your payments and they're just unreachable, And you can call your student loan companies and you can arrange for income-based payments. And a lot of times, if you're married, you could do married filing separate so that they don't.
So the first thing we want to do is you want to reduce if you can't afford your payment.
Right.
Right? And you keep doing deferrals and all that kind of stuff. You want to see if you can't reduce your payments. And you can do that if you're filing jointly by filing separately, correct?
Right. Yep. I have a lot of clients that do that because the amount, when you look at both your incomes together, the payment almost doubles sometimes. So married filing separate is an option to lower your payment and make it more manageable. So that's certainly a viable option. I mean, don't become strapped to your student loans. And
How about
I
the
think
refinancing option?
So there's also, if you work for a non-for-profit agency or a public service agency or a school, you could do, and you have government loans, you could do where you, within 10 years or 120 qualifying payments, your loans could be forgiven and gone. And so there's a number of things. You have to apply. You
Right,
can't.
So who do you apply through?
So they have to be federal loans, or they have to be loans that are eligible by the U.S. Department of Education, or direct or indirect subsidized loans. So they have to.
But the thing is, the ones that you did have that were direct, or the ones that are government
Subsidized,
loans,
right.
those would be the ones that you go to and you say that I'd like to apply for that. And I understand that the calendar doesn't start ticking until you apply, correct?
Right. Exactly. In order to ensure you're on track and ensure you're doing the right thing, you have to apply. And so, it just breaks my heart if people have been doing it and they haven't applied. And the way that you apply is you call the federal loans, the direct loan services, the Department of Education. I have the phone number at the office, and you just tell them that you want to be eligible for the government non-for-profit organization loan forgiveness program. And you qualify, and they're very helpful. Some of your loans, they can consolidate them, but in order to consolidate them, they have to be government subsidized loans, and so they can help you to consolidate them into a lower payment
but even
too.
If you only got rid of half, I mean, that would be great.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
So here's the thing. On Tuesday, because Monday is Memorial Day, on Tuesday, if you're working for a not-for-profit and you have student loans and you want to become part of this program, you want to make sure that you call the federal government and apply for the 10-year loan forgiveness. And from the time you call, all those payments that you make timely for 120 months would, and the whole thing is many people don't realize that they're working for a not-for-profit. I mean, like a lot of these hospitals are not-for-profits.
Right.
Nursing homes are not-for-profits. Government, if you're working for the state of New York or Erie County, if I ever saw a not-for-profit in the state of New York, those are places that you could get the debt forgiveness. But the thing is, if you don't do it, every month that you make a payment and you haven't applied is 1 month extra you'd have to do at the end.
That's right. So do it, Chris. Go on.
And actually, what's going on right now in colleges? You have graduations. So these kids who are just kids, young adults who are graduating from college, now in May or in a month, in a little bit, look at where your job is and apply right away. Like Tiff said, if you work for them for 10 years and then you apply, you still have another 10 years left.
Yeah, and also you have to be a full-time employee for these non-for-profits. Full-time employee means 30 hours per week of working. So full-time is, not what you and I necessarily think, but 30 hours a week. So, yeah, Chris, you're right.
All right, so that's the first thing. Then the second thing is, let's say that your spouse, you're married to somebody, and they owe student loans, but you were just very practical. You didn't incur debt. Your student loans are all paid. But what they're doing is they're seizing your collective refund to put on the debt from your spouse. There is a way out from that from a tax perspective, right?
Yep, it's called injured spouse form. And so you want to make sure that you file that return. And so that means if you guys are both employed and the portion of the debt that would go to he or she that owes the student loans, the portion that goes to you you would still receive it if you file that injured spouse form. And there's one for the federal and the state. So that means not all of the refund would go to pay off that debt.
Their obligation.
Right.
And the thing is, let's say you're listening now and you say, oh, wow, baloney, I didn't do that last year. We can still amend the federal, right? And get that injured spouse form filed so that the money that went to pay that obligation of that other spouse's, let's say, student loans, is returned back to you.
That's right. That's right. So you can amend it and go and get the money that was already seized. As a matter of fact, on Friday, I was just talking to a client and we called to check on the status of his refund, and lo and behold, his entire $9,000 refund was seized to pay off his wife's student loan debt. So I told him on Tuesday, I'm going to do an injured spouse return form, amend it. Well, actually, I talked to the IRS and they said, don't amend it, just file the injured spouse form because it'll take less time that way, Chris. Yeah, so they said just to do that. But that's a really good point, Esther.
So I'm going to tell you, if you're listening and your kid has student loans and that's what's happening, I'm sure your kid doesn't want to tell you, especially if they're adults. But you can mention it over the Memorial Day weekend. Say, by the way, you were listening to Tax Lady the other day, and they were saying that there's a way out from these student loans. And if you don't understand, or you're catching this and you're driving in the car and you're on your way out to a picnic or whatever, give us a call at the office, and we're thrilled to help you because we don't want to see you shoot yourself in the foot.
Right. I know one couple years ago I asked my sister, I said, hey, did your daughters ever apply? And she goes, oh, they called. They don't. I said, I don't know. I know there's ways. They both work for not-for-profits, And 2 months later she goes, Hannah finally got in. She got it. So she, make the phone call yourself because you know what? Sometimes the kids they're too busy, they say. But you know what? If it could save them $50,000, $100,000, I don't think you're ever that busy.
All
where
right,
you
and
can
then the other thing is with student loans, if you're disabled, and believe it or not, you can get an attorney who can petition the federal government student loan division and have that student loan completely forgiven. And so if you have a child that became disabled or is unable to work, or even if it's a mental incapacity that they're unable to function because maybe of some anxiety or something, you'd be surprised what can happen. And again, EG Tax can put you in contact with an attorney that can help you to have your student loans forgiven. So that's the important thing. Use EG Tax as a resource because we're not just a bunch of pretty faces here.
Right.
I know I'm
but,
not.
I mean, I know Chris is a pretty face. I mean, we're here. I mean, really, we care really a lot for you. So here's the thing. When in doubt, give EG Tax a call, and we will certainly try to help you. And I will tell you that we are. If we don't know, we will find out.
Yeah, and I just want to end this topic by it. It says if you're working for a public service organization, you should complete and submit the employment certification for public service loan forgiveness. I have the URL for that annually, or when you change employers. They'll use that information on the form to let you know if you're making qualified payments and to make sure that you're on the right track. So there's certain paperwork that should be filled out.
All right, and then this is the last thing I have to say. And I have grandkids going to college this year. Don't create the debt originally.
If there's a way not to do it, don't do it.
I mean, just because you want to dorm, I have grandkids locally that are going to dorm. Their mom and dad live here locally, and they're going to incur an extra $12,000 in debt because they want to get out of the house. Well, I'm going to tell you, it may be fun now because you're 18 years old, But when you're 28 years old and you're now paying because of $100,000 in student loan debt that you incurred for dorming, you're going to say, I wished I wouldn't have done that.
Right. Well, you won't be able to afford a house.
That's where parenting comes in, really.
To sit down and
I know that when my kids were going to college, they said they wanted to go to this, that, and I said, well, I'll tell you what, this is what I'm paying for, and if you got somebody else that's going to pay for it, great, you can do what you want, but this is what I'm doing, and my kids graduated without debt,
right,
because I wouldn't let them dorm,
right.
So don't create the debt originally, because this thing is like an albatross around your neck, a big weight.
And when you're that young, you just think you're going to live forever, and you've got no problem paying it off.
Think about paying bills, right? You don't think that, you're going to get married and you're going to have a house payment, you're going to have car payments, you're going to have kids. They're going to take taxes out. Oh my gosh, you got to contribute to your pension plan. There's just not enough money to cover everything.
Especially now with health insurance.
When you're dealing with debt that's accumulating from when you were a kid?
Yuck. Not a good plan.
It really is not a good plan. So, hey, I'm Esther Gulias, the tax lady from EG Tax, 803-0930, 803-0930, star 930 in the cell phone. The next thing we're going to talk about on the other side of the news, we're going to talk about if you owe the IRS money. Now, we just helped you if you owe student loan debt. Now, on the other side, if you owe the IRS money, we're going to show you what to do. You don't have to pay those fancy guys. You can use EG Tax on the other side of the news, 803-0930, star 930 on your cell phone. Hey, this is Esther Gulias, the tax lady from EG Tax, and we're talking about how debt can affect your taxes. Student loan debt, which we were just talking about, affects your taxes because they take your refund to pay that obligation, and we gave you a couple steps to take. If you're working for a not-for-profit, you want to make sure that you apply for the debt forgiveness, the 10-year debt forgiveness on the student loan obligation. If you're married filing a joint return, you might want to look at income-based payments and
Esther,
file separately.
well, while you're talking about income-based, there's 4 options I want to tell you for income-based.
Yeah.
There's revised pay-as-you-earn repayment plan. There's pay-as-you-earn repayment plan. There's income-based repayment plan, and finally, there's income contingent repayment plan.
Good, and I don't know what any of that means, but what the heck. No, but anyway, and again, EG Tax and TIF especially is an expert at student loan debt and repayment. You can call her at 632-7886. And we have Sheila from Grand Island calling about student loan debt. Hey, Sheila, how can we help you?
Hi, I just have a quick question. And my husband's got you on the radio and I'm listening. And my son has had student loans now. They came into repayment in 2011. He's been out of school since 2011, out of college. He had like $60-some thousand in debt, and he told me that he wasn't qualified for this 10-year repayment thing.
Who does he work for? I mean, you don't give. Is he working for a non-for-profit?
Well,
a school?
Yeah, he works for a school.
Does he work there full time?
Yes.
Okay, so is it federal loans that he has?
Or are they private?
No, they're federal loans. They're all through the government. They're all government.
Okay, so Sheila, I have 5 children. You have a child. Do children always tell their parents the truth?
No.
Okay, so. All right, so now that we're on the same page, okay? I mean, sometimes you know what it is? They think, Mom doesn't know what the heck she's talking about. I have to go to a soccer game tonight. I don't care what she says. She's a nag. But sometimes we have to help and take the bull by the horns. I'm going to tell you, this is absolutely a federal program.
So it would be eligible, as far as I can tell. It would be eligible. And you know what? Another little story is there's a father that called me a couple of months ago, and he helped his son to get into the 10-year federal payment program. And so he actually did the conference calls with me because his son was really busy. And so they're busy building their life. And I don't, they're just
or
busy.
Not building their life. Right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing, Sheila. I mean, you know how kids are. They're kids. I mean, I hate to say it, but you wish there would come a place where they wouldn't be your kids anymore. But unfortunately, they are. And I will tell you, why don't you call Tiffany on Tuesday, and she'll conference you in, and we want to help you.
We'll conference you in with the student loan people and do a phone call. You don't even have to be in the office, and it's a really good option.
Okay?
Okay. Will they talk to me, though? Because I'm not,
No, your son would have to be on the phone with us. And,
That's all right.
and tell
We'll
him,
just embarrass him in it.
and tell him he doesn't even have to come into the office, and it's worth a phone call to save him a lot of money because, $60,000 of student loan keeps growing and growing. And another thing is when you reconsolidate, they reconsolidate at a lower interest rate. And so if he has federal loans, reconsolidating them is a really good option too. And there's all those companies that try to do it for you, and they pay you charge a lot of money to do it, but he can do it himself, and there's a lot of good options. And so I really think you got to help. And
We want to help you, Sheila.
He's down to 18,000.
Yay!
Good.
That's really good.
Well, if you need help, you can call us 632-7886. We'd love to help you.
Sounds great.
Thanks for calling.
Very
Happy
proud of
Memorial
him.
Day. Okay, I'm Esther Golias, the tax lady from EG Tax, 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on your cell phone. We were talking about student loan debt. We have Sally from Buffalo that's been waiting. Hey, Sally, how can we help you?
Hi. My father moved in with me. He's 93 years old last year. And my sister, who's power of attorney, has been giving me, approximately like $30 per day to take care of him.
Okay.
And then we just sold his house, and we had to go through some lawyers, and then they're saying that I have to claim that money as income.
You mean the $30 a day?
$30 a day.
Right. Because you're performing a service. Whenever you perform a service, and obviously caring for your dad is a service,
But-
that's going to be taxable income.
Really, she's probably a household employee, quite possibly.
Right. Well, she's still.
Well,
that's
it's
what I'm
her
talking
house.
about.
It's not his.
It's her house. Is it your house, Sally, or do you go to his house?
No, it's my house.
Right.
Okay.
So it is going to be taxable income to you, but you get to reduce it by any expenses you incur to make the money. So you're talking about $9,000, a little over $9,000. So when you take him to the doctor, when you go pick up his prescriptions, if
Cell
you
phone.
are providing him food as part of that $9,000, that all reduces the $9,000 to much less.
His
much
bedroom.
Less. But the thing is, because that's right, and it's in your own home. So whatever's left, you're going to have to pay FICA on, and you're going to have to pay income taxes on. If this is your only source of income, you won't owe income tax. You might owe a little FICA.
No, I have a full-time job.
Okay, then you're going to owe FICA
Yeah,
and income tax.
And the reason the lawyer says you have to claim it is because they're looking at is if case dad goes into a nursing home,
right.
They're going to look at his money and see where did it go to, and they're going to look at you, and it could stop Medicaid from paying
Right.
for the nursing home because he paid you this money. So as
exactly
long as
right.
it's legit, there's no questions asked.
But then, like Esther says, make sure you keep track of all your expenses because you can reduce what you have to report by the expenses.
Right.
My dad.
So
Mileage.
even with the FICA, you're looking at less than $1,000 in taxes that you have to pay. But
Well,
so
is it like this in every state, or is it just New York State?
no, this is federal. This is,
Every state.
This is federal. Yeah,
Wow.
this is the federal law.
But-
it was news to me and my siblings because it just seems like we're saving, sure, we
a lot
love
of money.
Well, we're saving the state so much money with me, and $30 a day doesn't even cut it.
I understand. My mom is in a nursing home, and we pay $365 a day.
So you're saving
You're-
a lot of
you're-
money.
You're saving the state. a lot.
A lot of money.
But unfortunately, you're going to owe some income tax and FICA on that money. But again, reduced by your expenses.
And-
So
and
after the expenses,
call
you
us.
might not have anything left.
Yeah.
So I don't know until I would look at all your figures, but if you brought it down to around a $4,000 net profit, then you'd owe about $1,000 in taxes.
Wow. Okay.
But there's a lot of expenses. Call us if you have questions.
That's right. Hey, I'm Esther Golias, the tax lady, 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on your cell phone. Okay. Now you owe the state of New York and the federal money and you can't pay and you don't know what to do. There is options with that too, right, Chris?
Right. You sell your children who have all the student loan debt.
They ain't worth anything. They ain't worth anything.
No. There's what's called the offer and compromise, both for the federal and New York State.
And we do that, right?
And we do that. We do.
So what qualifies?
Well, if you have to, they first look at your income, your assets, and your liabilities. Okay? So you have to do a lot of homework, in order to do this.
Well, heck, to get rid of the debt, let's say you owe $100,000. Isn't it worth to do a little bit of legwork to get rid of $100,000 IRS debt?
Didn't we just talk about this with the child with the student loans who didn't want to do? I mean, unfortunately, the people who owe the IRS the money are the people who don't want to do the work.
Right, that's
they
true.
They bury their head in the
true.
sand and they
That's
think it's
true.
going to go away, and it doesn't.
Yep.
So,
But it's not like there's a lot they got to do. So they have to provide, 4 or 5 months worth of
3
their
months.
bills, right?
Yep, and that includes your mortgage. If you rent, you need your lease agreement, your rent checks.
Right, so they have to show that they're unable to pay, and they have to show their current bills. We come up with the best that they can do monetary settlement and present it to the IRS, right?
Right. And I tell
And the debt can go away.
and they can. They come up. The IRS has this form where they come up with all this extra income, and this is what they say you should pay on the 433. But I've seen it come up where they say, oh, you owe $50,000, but you can pay them $20,000, and I'm like, no, they can't. There's no way they can pay 20, because otherwise they would be paying off this debt. And so I'll say, how about will you take $2,000? And it will go to the IRS agent, and the IRS agent will call us up and say, $2,000's a little bit low. How about $4,000? Okay, we'll take $4,000 over a year. So we'll give you $350 a month, something like that. And they're willing to play ball because the IRS, they'd rather have the bird in the hand. They'd rather have that money coming in than someone just ignoring them and falling off the radar because they'll get no money.
That's right. So the thing is, if you owe money, or your kids owe money, or your grandkids owe money to the federal or New York State, and they don't have the ability to pay. Now, obviously, if they're living in the lap of luxury, they got pension plans and investments, and they can pay, the IRS is not going to do this. But let's face it, if you're the one that owes the money, you can't pay. Mm-hmm. All right, you can't pay. If you give EG Tax a call, or if you want to do it yourself, you file a Form 656 and a 433.
433A for a personal, and you can do this for a business too.
Right. And if you file these forms, because you have to understand, the IRS only talks in forms. If you're Chinese, you talk to the Chinese people in Chinese. If you're Italian, you talk to an Italian in Italian. When you're talking to the IRS, you talk in forms.
Right.
So you need a 656 and a 433, and you can get rid of your debt.
Yep.
Potentially.
And that's called an offer and compromise, and EG Tax will help you with that. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yep.
All right, we have Paul, who's been waiting. Hey, Mr. Paul, how can we help you, sir?
Yes, I had a question on estate. I know there's a special consideration in the New York State for estate tax, of $1 million limit. What's the equivalent on a federal?
Well, actually, they're both right now $5 million, $5.4 million.
So there's no tax due under $5 million?
Well, not really. The state of New York kind of has a weird way of computing that, right, Chris?
Well, it's yes, but without having my phone, I left my phone at home. I can't Google the exact figure, but it's right around the 5.4 million where there is no tax. But and then they only give you a little bit of room over because then if you're over it,
Then it's all taxed.
then it's all taxable. It's not like the federal where the first 5.4 million is tax free. New York State, if you're worth $6 million, they're going to take that $6 million and make you pay estate tax
Right.
on it.
So you want to make sure if you're somebody that has a large estate that you do estate planning, because the state of New York gives you like that cap to go by, but if you come over the cap, the cap goes away and it's all taxed.
And life insurance is included in
Right.
that as well.
Okay, so if it's a case where it's under 1 million, okay,
You should be fine.
thing on the, at least on the New York State side, talks about an income of,
And federal as well.
pardon?
And federal as well.
Of $1 million, okay. But what about that $600 income thing? Then it doesn't apply.
There's
That's
two different
That's not an
estates.
estate tax. That's a fiduciary.
There's
That's different.
Yeah, there's the 706, which has the $5 million exclusion, which is, hey, government, I'm dead. This is how much I'm worth when I died. Then there's the 1041 estate, which is, hey, government, I'm dead, but I'm still making money. And that's where that $600 is. That's on that part.
The 600, does bond interest count against the 600?
If the estate cashes
Hasn't
it in.
distributed. If the estate hasn't distributed to the heirs and the money is still being held by the estate, then the estate, if the estate is making more than $600, it has to do a 1041.
Okay, so in other words, there was over $20,000 in bond interest put in.
Then there has to be a 1041 done.
So you'd have to do a 1041 for the bond
Right.
interest
Right.
because it's over 600. Okay.
Correct.
All right. Thank you. But
You're welcome.
it's under $1 million.
Okay, so let's go back here. So when you're alive, you do a 1040 form. All right. When you pass away, and the money you still have in your name is a 1041. Not a 1040, but a 1041, because the money that you have is making money. When you distribute that money and there is nothing left in your name, then you don't do a 1041 anymore. On the date of your death, if the assets, not the money you're making on the assets, but the assets themselves, are over the 5.4 million, then you do an estate tax return.
And that's what he's
Federal
getting
and
confused
state,
with.
And that's what you're confused.
You're doing a 1041. Hey, I'm dead, but my money's still making money, and that's a $600
So
limit.
You're messing up the two. You're putting them together. One's apples, one's
You have to
oranges.
file a return.
Yep.
So in this case, it's my parents. They both passed away. The proceeds of the house and the bonds were cashed into their estate account.
Right. All right. So then you have to do a 1041,
Okay.
and
Even it's under $1 million.
right, because the money that they would have before
That's a
it was distributed
$600
is
limit.
still making money.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You know,
Thanks.
and
I'm Esther Golias, the tax lady from EG Tax, 8030930, 8030930, star 930 on your cell phone. We're going to take a short break. We'll be back with your calls on the other side.
pull those weeds, pull those weeds. That's what everybody's doing this weekend.
You know, and sometimes that's a good thing when
Because
there's
you're
snow,
speaking
isn't
for
it,
yourself.
Yeah.
Chris? Right, because you don't have to pull them weeds when
Oh.
when it's
Nice.
when it's
Snowy,
Yes.
cold,
But
icy.
Mia likes it better when it's
Yeah, no panting today in here.
yeah. Mia likes it better when it's cold. Mia is his Saint Bernard.
Yes. But
Okay,
you know what?
so-
Going back to that other caller,
Yeah.
he should definitely give us a call because, you know, I don't think he quite understood the concept between the two. But even with the 1041, if those bonds were cashed in this year and that money was distributed to the beneficiaries, they should do the 1041 with the K1 going to the beneficiaries.
So that they pay a lower rate.
Definitely, because on a 1041, I think after, what is it, like 7,500, it's like 25% to
Yep.
35%. It's like,
And do they get to take advantage of the tax free on the New York? I mean, not
So
the
here,
bonds.
let's back that thing up. And by the way, 8030930, 8030930.
Back that puppy up.
Star 930 cell phone. All right, so let's say today you're alive and you have your wages that you made, boom. But then tomorrow you pass away, and you're not making any money anymore, but your investments are. If your investments are making more than $600 on the date of your death moving forward for the next 12 months, then you would do what's called a fiduciary return, because the income that the assets that you have is making money. Once you distribute all your assets and they're not making money over $600, you don't do an estate return, a fiduciary return, 1041. But on the whole thing that you own when you pass away, that's called an estate return, and that's where there's a $5.4 million exclusion before you owe any estate taxes. So a fiduciary and an estate are two different things.
Yes.
Right?
Yep. Definitely.
All right, so let's talk. We're talking about debt that can ruin your life. So let's say that you're so happy, you married this wonderful person, and they had student loan debt.
Or other debt.
Oh, no, child support. Excuse me,
Yeah.
child support. They had child support debt. And so what's going to happen to your refund?
It would be seized to pay on that child support.
But again, just like we talked about with somebody with student loan debt, child support debt can also be considered under injured spouse, right?
It absolutely can. So you're going to want to file that same form that you filed to have the student loan that we were talking about before, so that the portion of the refund that was supposed to be categorized to the person who doesn't have the debt, the non-injured person or the injured person is going to receive a portion of their refund. Could be, if that other person doesn't work, all of the refund. So you want to make sure you do that injured spouse form for the federal and the state.
Right. I know we said
you can't do it for
non-obligated spouse.
Now, of course, now it's too late.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. You have 3 years to get it in for the federal. New York State, you have 10 days. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Beyond
5,
the
6, 7, 8,
filing.
9,
Generous,
10.
isn't that wonderful of them to give you 10 days?
10 days to get that form in. I know I had a client this week call and say, I just got this. I said, get your butt back into the office. We will get that over right now. We have 10 days. So, I mean, and that's basically 10 days from when they write that letter. So by the time you get that letter, there's 3 or 4 days already gone. So you got to hurry up and get the IT-280 right in to New York. So don't just put that in, I'll get to that.
So let's put it in terms for people to understand. You get married, your new spouse has child support, but it's not your child support. And so on your collective refund that might have been $6,000 or $7,000 in the federal, a couple thousand on the state, they seize both of them. They seize both of them because you didn't know to file the injured spouse. On the federal, you can still go back and amend that return and get your portion of that refund out of jeopardy. And they'll give you your refund back.
Right.
And so that's called an injured spouse. And again, if you need help, we can do it now. We'll amend those returns and get you the money back.
And then, Esther, we have a texted in question. It says, where on the website do I sign up for the EG Tax newsletter? What I would suggest is the place where it says ask a tax question. Click the place where you ask a tax question and enter it there that you'd like the newsletter, if you don't mind.
Right, if you would.
Yeah,
Please.
because
And
then,
we're going to let everybody know where, when, and all that kind of stuff as the summer unfolds. Right now, we're negotiating with several places to find out where we're going to hold the seminar, but it'll be definitely in November.
So if you want the newsletter, click on Ask a Tax Question.
Okay, so let's move on. 8030930, 8030930. Starting. I only don't have much time, but let's say that you have a large unpaid tax bill. You don't qualify for the injured spouse. You don't qualify for injured spouse. You don't qualify for offers in compromise. What can you do?
If you have a lot, you might want to you could do an uncollectible status. You could do a payment plan with the IRS.
How can you do an uncollectible
Well, right.
status?
You said you can't even qualify for
I mean, if you're uncollectible, you probably could do an offer
in compromise.
right?
So you'd want to do a payment plan.
Uncollectible means like you really you would qualify for an offer in compromise. But if you have an outstanding liability, don't be afraid. Make the call and call the IRS to set up a payment program.
Right. An installment agreement.
Right.
Yep.
And they'll let you make payments over 2 years, right?
65
years.
5 years. And so you can pay them back. Obviously, if you're going to be digging yourself a grave because you're not going to change the way you do things, and next year you
might want to
money
get a home
again,
equity.
Then it's a problem. So you want to make sure that you stop the bleeding and you set up that payment program, and they're going to let you make payments every month.
And the thing is, with the installment agreement, they charge you a one-time setup fee. If you do a $94.65, it's like a couple of $100. But if you go to irs.gov and you set up your installment agreement online and the money comes right out of your checking account, I think it's only like $85. And then Esther always raises a good point, is because of the fees and the interest, home equity interest loans are really great rates right now. And so you might want to use that to pay off your debt.
Even though it's not deductible, right?
Right.
Even though, yeah, I know.
Right. And the other thing is, I don't mean to step on you, Chris, but if you're somebody that's got a refund and the state of New York is playing games with you, change your withholding, right? Or if you have big balance due, change your withholding. I mean, there are people that say, oh, I don't want them to have my money. I've said this past tax season, I said to people, you realize your penalty that they're charging is like $400. Well, I don't want them to have my money. And I said, well, on this $2,000 liability, you know, what are you making, like $4? You know, change your withholding. Have them take more out of your pension plan. Have them take more out of your paycheck if you owe money. If you have a big liability, change it so that you're claiming more allowances, right?
Right. That's right.
But the most important thing is do something about it. So if you listen to the show and you have student loans, or you have grandkids that have student loans, or they have child support, or whatever, the thing is, don't assume there's nothing you can do. Assume there's something you can do. But the thing is, sometimes the most important thing is connecting with somebody who wants to help you. And EG Tax wants to help you.
That's
Bottom line.
Right?
We're on your side.
We are on your side. And so during the week, if you need us, you can call us. You can go to our website at egtax.com. Our phone number in the office is 632-7886. If you have questions, you can, again, go to our website. If you want to go to our seminar in the fall, it's absolutely free. We have great guests that are going to be part of our speaker series. And again, next week, we have Russ Gullo that's going to be talking about exchanges and how to get out of rental property. You know, Buffalo has lots of rental property, and you know how expensive that can be. So until next week, and have a wonderful Memorial Day. Thank you for your service if you're someone has served. Thank you for listening. Until next week, I'm Esther Golias with Tiffany Fabian and Christopher Fabian. Have a great week. Bye-bye.